How do you find the time to do what you do when it comes to your endurance stuff, right? An ultra athlete doing these major events, plus you're running your own business, which is, as you mentioned before, super hard.
Mhm.
Plus you're married, which means you got to spend time with your wife. Plus you have two kids. Talk
Mhm.
to us about your time management a little bit and maybe a couple of tips.
Yeah. It's interesting because I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts, and I've funneled in a lot of the way that I do my time management based on I call it essentialism or minimalist. And
Okay.
it's how can I be as effective as possible with the least amount of time, but not just efficient, but effective. So it's like, because you can do a lot of stuff, but if you're not hitting the main things that are going to move you forward,
Mm,
you're just spinning your wheels. So I've been watching a lot, like I watch people, I talk to mentors, I read books. Some of the things that have really stuck is if I can have 3 to 4 days a week where I have three 90-minute blocks, I can get more done in those 4 days than I could if I was working a 40, 50 hour sitting in an office job.
mm.
So what I'll do is I watched my old business partner would do this. He would block out 3 to 4 hours, and that's when he would do his creative chunk work, and he would schedule it like no one else, nothing got into that block of time. And so when I started doing that, all of a sudden it's not that I was like twice as effective. I was like 3 or 4 times as effective during those blocks of time.
Mm,
So that's one of the things I do. Just kind of block out 3 90-minute chunks of time, 3 to 4 days a week.
mhm.
And then first thing in the morning, I do some journaling, and then I write down the top 10 things I want to get done for the day. And then I
Mm,
circle the top three, and it's like, those are the must get dones. And then the
okay.
rest of them, if I get to them, great. But if not, I'll just throw them on the next day. And so that, those two simple things, like setting up those 90-minute blocks of time, and then having a list of 10 items with the top three
Mm,
at the top of my
mm.
list, like that's, and if you do that every day, you're moving in the right direction and you're getting things done. And yeah.
Good stuff, Rob. Like you said, simple little things. You'd be surprised at how many people don't do that. You'll be surprised how many professionals I meet every day, and they just wake up and just wing it. They just start winging it, shooting from the hip every day. It's like you can't do that. You're not going to be as effective. Like you really. I know it sounds so simplistic to make a to-do list or a priority list for the day, but I am amazed at how many people don't do that. I
Yeah.
really am. So yeah, great advice. And I do the same thing, by the way. And it's so easy. Most of us work remote these days. Just block out your calendar, right? Everybody uses things like Calendly or whatever you're using to let people see your availability. Just
Mhm.
block out times. Just block it out. If you don't block it out, you're not going to get the work done. And then you're going to get phone calls, and you're going to check email 20 times a day. And then you're going to look at social media and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And the next thing you know, your day's over. So great advice.
And I think one of the things is consistency. Like I find in ultra sports, I've been doing ultras for 20 years and taken on some of the world's toughest races. And I'm not fast. I'm not built as a strong runner. And yet I can do these events. And the main reason, like I attribute to my success, is the team I have around me. So I have an amazing support team, and then my consistency in the training. And the same thing goes, it's amazing how parallel that is to business. Like if you have the right team around you and you're consistent in your disciplines, you just continue to raise up your game. And I found this term lately. I call it like increased capacity or defy capacity. And I find in ultras, like if you take on a monster, you end up shifting up in your ability level. Like you grow years in like a 2 3 week period of time. And so
Mhm.
all of a sudden on the other end of, like the big change for me was a solo race across America. So it was a
Okay.
12-day, 3,000-mile bike ride. And when I got done with that, it just opened up the doors to all these other events I could do. And I found that same thing with certain clients. Like all of a sudden you'll get this client offer and it's like, man, I've never done this before. This is totally outside of my comfort zone. And then you work with them for 6 months, or you work with them for those first like 3 months. And then after that, you have this completely different skill set than you did 6 months ago. So
Yeah.
stepping into that uncertain space and just, pouring your heart into it and being consistent. And then on the other side of it is like, oh yeah, I just, my capacity increased to something that I didn't even think was possible 6 months
Mhm.
ago. But you have to lean into those uncomfortable situations.